Hi everyone. Let's continue our reading where we left yesterday. So where we are, where we need to start from here. The sophistications of the murder suggested it was to keep the victims hovering between a life and death for some time. So let's start with the first basis. In August 1984, industrial peat cutting operations at Lindo Marsh in Cheshire in northwest England reveals a horrific object, a part of human body. The police were called in to investigate a possible murder, and the body part was soon identified as belonging to a young man. However, this man hadn't died recently but about 2000 years ago, at the time when Britain was in the process of becoming a Roman province. Lindoman, as he known, was the victim of a viciously violent and repeated assault that ended in his death and interment in a boggy pool sometime in the mid-first century CE. His immersion in the swamp preserved not only his skeleton but his skin, hair, and internal organs, a wonderful resource of archaeologists. He was fit, in his mid-twenties, and we think he was a person of high status for his fingernails were in mint condition and his facial hair was neatly trimmed using a razor, an expensive piece of grooming equipment. So this passage is talking about that the police found a skull of some human body, skull of a human beings, which are not died recently, but 2000 years back. So it's a complete descriptions about the features of the skull. So the title of this particular passage is Feature of Skull of Man died 2000 years ago. So what we can take from this passage is that the person who died was a victim of viciously violent that ended in his death. From this whole thing, man was the victim of a viciously violent and repeated assault that ended in his death and interment in a boggy pool. Boggy pool. The person, the person was a high status, belongs to high status family. That's it. Person belongs to high status family. That's all for this particular passage. Let's moving forward to the next passage. So let's read what the next passage. The reason for this man's significance in the context of the Druid lies in the content of his gut. There is a description of ancient Druidic ritual in Gaul by the Roman author Pliny the Elder, that is, writing in the mid-late 4th century CE. In his massive Natural History, a multi-volume work describing natural curiosities throughout the known world. On the sixth day after the new moon, the Druids would gather beneath a sacred oak. One of them would climb the tree to cut down mistletoe from its branches using a gilded sickle. According to Pliny's testimony, the Druids regarded mistletoe as having the spiritual power both to heal and to promote fertility in crops and livestock. The final hour before his brutal death, Lingdo's men had consumed a special meal, a kind of last supper that contained a peculiar mixture of seeds, wild plants, cursed grains, and mistletoe pollen in sufficient quantity of it to have been deliberately included in the gilded loaf that the luckless victim had consumed just before his brutal death. So if you can just read the whole passage, you can identify the meaning of the word mistletoe is it's a name of some kind of plants which is harmful. So as we read this passage, it's talking about how that person died because of the Druid rituals. So the topic of this particular passage, how the where is the name of that? Yeah, how the Lingdo men died. So the title is How Lingdo Men Died. Firstly, what we can say take from here, from this, just yeah, we can take something from here because this passage is quite interesting. On the sixth date after the new moon, the Druids would gather beneath a sacred oak. One of them would climb the tree to cut down mistletoe from its branches using a gilded sickle. According to the Pliny's testimony, Druids regarded mistletoe as having the spiritual power both the heals and to promote fertility in crops and livestock. So it's talking about on the sixth day after the new moon, the Druid people get in the sacred oak and they cut the mistletoe which contains harmful elements in it, which is useful for heal and they promote fertility in crops and livestock. So we can just read. So what we can take from here is mistletoe. The men might be, we can start from here. Men might be died by consuming mistletoe from oak tree which is used as a which is used as a spiritual plant by Druids. So what we can say in the final hour before, let's moving what we can take from here. In the final hour before his brutal death, the Lingdo men had consumed a special meal, a kind of large supper that contained a peculiar mixture of seeds, wild plants, and curls, grain, and mistolito pollen in sufficient quantity for it to have been deliberately included in the griddled loaf that the luckless victim had consumed just before his brutal death. So what that person contained just before his death. So we can take the man consumed last supper. Man consumed last supper. Supper means a dinner which contain mixture of seeds, wild plants, curl, grains, and mistletoe. Mistletoe. That's it for this particular passage. Let's moving forward. The next one. The complex manner of his killing strongly suggested human sacrifice. He was stunned by a violent blow of the head, garroted, and his throat cut. Then, while still breathing, there was a bog water found in his lungs. He was thrust face down into the marsh, a highly orchestrated ritual killing, and the presence of the mistolito might tie his death to the sacrificial action. The sophistication of the murder suggested that it was conducted with care and with the intention to keep the victims hovering between a life and death for some time. Bogs themselves are liminal and contradictory places, neither fully dry nor wet. And even after his death, the body of Lingdo Man was suspended between states of being, since its preservation did not allow its remains to decay and thus perhaps deny his spirit to join the ancestors. Oh, okay. So this passage is talking about what happened to this Lingdo men after consuming that harmful suffer. So, so the title of this passage is What Happened to Lendo Men After Last Supper. After the Last Supper. So we can take we can take this violent blow of head, garroted, and his throat cut. So violent blow to the head, garroted, and his throat cut. He was, then we can take this line as well. He was just thrust face down into the marshes, into marsh. Thrust face down into the marsh. Tie his death to Druids' sacrificial action. Tie his death to Druidic sacrificial action. And we can take something from here as well. The sophistication of the murder suggests that it was conducted with care and with the intention of keep the victim hovering between life and the dead for some time. Okay, his death, the motive behind, no, not the motive. The intention to keep, sorry, the intention to kill Lenderman this way to keep him hovering between life and death for some time. For some time. And uh, and after his death, we can take this as well. After his death, the body of Linderman was suspended between the state of being since its preservation did not allow his remains to decay and this perhaps deny his spirit to join the ancestors. Okay, we can take this. After his death, his body is not decay which denied his spirit to join the ancestors. Okay, so let's moving toward the next species. It is possible that the geographical situation of Lenderman's murder and interment has historical significance. There had been a Roman military presence in Britannia for at least 10 to 15 years before his death. This was at a time when the Roman army was pressing northwest from its primary bases in the southeast and under the Roman general Stunius Polonius. A large force marched diagonally across Britain in order to destroy the Druids' manpower base, which Tacitus tells us was on the island of Anglesey in Wales. It is possible that the execution of the Lindo's men might have been an abortion sacrifice designed to protect the island with its Druidic sanctuary. If so, it didn't work. The Roman army burnt it down. Okay. So this passage is talking about why those peoples taking the life from that Lindo men. So the title of this particular passage is why Lindo men murdered. Why Lindo men murdered. Murdered. Okay. So what we can take from this passage is that the Roman army we can take from here is from this whole passage. This was at a time when the Roman army was pressing northwest from its primary base in the southeast and under the Roman general Suetonius Paulinus. A large force marched diagonally across Britain in order to destroy the Druid manpower base which Tacitus tells was on the island of Anglesey in Wales. So the Roman army, so what we can take from here is Roman army was pressing northwest in motive to destroy the Druids men power base, the main power base, main power base. And we can take from here is Linderman might have been abortion sacrifice designed to protect the island. Sorry. Linderman might have been an abortion sacrifice designed to protect the island with its Judic sanctuary. If so, it didn't work. The Roman army burnt it down. So basically in Druid culture, they don't burn the body or they don't decay the body. So that the spirit doesn't not able to meet with his her ancestors. But here their work is not done because the Roman army burnt it down. So what we can take from here is Lindermen murdered, Lindermen murdered as an aversion. Linderman might murder because it's not clear that that's the main and that's the clear motive. As an aversion sacrifice designed to protect the island with its Druidic sanctuary. We can cover one more passage or two. So let's moving forward. The next passage. Tacitus wrote with revulsion of the dark groves on An- Anzalisi, haunted by Druids and containing a crude and sinister altars soaked with the blood of human sacrificial victims. We have no unequivocal archaeological evidence for such atrocities on the scared island, but there is one site, Lilin Carey's Batch, a small boggy pool that cries out for recognition as an important late Iron Age shrine. Here, in the early 1940s, excavations were carried out to prepare a wartime landing strip for Royal Air Force Station Valley. During this process, large number of objects were found, including iron slave gang chains, military hardware, a pair of bronze cauldrons, beautifully decorated bronze implements, and significantly the binding from scriptures. All appear to have been deliberately cast into the rock. The bones of animals were also found here, plus a few human remains. Could the site have been the one described by Tacitus? Lilin, Ceres was certainly a holy place in which precious gifts were planted, not for the safekeeping, but for the propitiations of the gods. It is tempting to imagine the Druids at work here. Some evidence about the Druid, which is mentioned by the Tacitus, found in the scared island, one of the scared island, which is called Leaning Carrick Batch. So it is a description about the Leaning Carrick Batch, which might be the possibility of the place where the Druid works. So the topic of the title of this particular passage is description about Leaning Carrick Batch. Description about Lenin Carrick Batch. So what we can take from here is a large number of objects were found, including a slave gang chain, military hardware, a pair of bronze cauldrons, beautifully decorated bronze implements, and significantly the binding from captives. This we can take a large number of objects were found, which includes all these things. You can take it, and just moving forward, what we can take from the other places. All appear to have a deliberately cast into the bog. The bones of animal also found, plus a few human remains. Could the site have been one described in Tacitus? So we can take bones of animals and humans found, and this we can, this were the last we can take. A living Caris was certainly a holy place in which precious gifts were planted, not for the safekeeping but for the propitiations of the gods. So this for this particular passage. It's moving toward the last passage for today. The reason why so many classical writers gave the Druids such a bad press was their reputation as perpetrators of human sacrifice. Caesar alludes to it in a pragmatic manner. According to him, the god found it acceptable to use human sacrifices, victims who had committed crimes. But should the supply run out, the innocent would have to make up the numbers. Other Roman authors, such as Tacitus and Lucan, were clearly horrified by such barbaric behavior, but there is a sense in which this judgmental attitude might be accused of double standards. For the abolitions of human sacrifice among the Romans themselves occurred only in the 4th century BCE. Such Roman hypocrisy is a good example of conquer prejudice, the deliberate execrations of barbarism in order to paint the Druids and their people as nothing better than savages who deserve to be expunged. So this particular passage is talking about that how the Jews sacrifice means Julius Caesar believes that the sacrifice of the humans is acceptable to gods, but they are the victims who committed crime. So the many authors are just questioning. So is the but nowadays, as in the case of the linked that person is innocent, that person doesn't commit any crime, then why they sacrifice his life for their rituals? So this is this particular passage is talking about all this, and the title of this particular passage is the why what the theory behind sacrificing innocent people. What the theory behind the sacrificing men or human beings? Theory behind sacrificing human by Druids. So first, by Druid, not by Caesar. By Caesar, because here it is they are not talking about Druid. They are giving the perspective of the Caesar. So we can write it here. Caesar believes that the god found it acceptable. From here we can take Caesar believes that the god found it acceptable to use human sacrificial victims who had committed crimes. But for sacrificing innocents along with criminals, judge the fact we can take from here, this line is the fact that innocents were also sacrificed because of a sense in which this judgmental attitude might be accused of double standard. Maybe because author is trying to say that they can they sacrifice innocent people as well, because maybe they're keeping the standard high, or what something which is not completely clear here is this is just an assumption. Because of the example of this is conqueror presides. So that's all. Thank you for listening to this reading.